Hang it out. Let me get it. I'll get it. Okay, you stay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Carmen's entered the studio. I'd like to welcome everyone to this first broadcast of First Friday. And so we have with us today a couple of guests we'll be talking with. And of course, we'll be working out technical details. So we got cameras and mics and all the rest of that. We just finished doing a lot of development work. So with that said, let me take a look at our agenda for today. And let's just kind of scroll through and look at a couple of key points that we want to go over. So we are the New York State Industrial Hemp Community Working Group. Now, we set that up a couple of years ago because we recognize the importance of getting organized and being involved with community action to bring about more of what we prefer. So, with that said, I'm going to turn it to Dr. Sally for a few opening comments as I deal with a few of these technical details. So, take it away.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. It's super exciting to us, and we hope that you join us in this excitement for this special First Friday. We have been working on preparing a networking platform which allows people to join, to build business, to network with each other, to support their projects, to host their projects, and to get like-minded people together to support the markets and the businesses going forward for either not for profits, for natural building, for especially our favorite material, industrial hemp, which you when you can actually see us, you'll see that it's in our walls at home right behind us. We have been enjoying living in natural hemp insulation for about 5 years, and we have appreciated it. And then everybody who comes to visit and stay and experience it, they have experienced the wonder of industrial hemp in your home. That being said, we also recognize there's such a need to share this information with more people and to get the education experience and to grow the market all going on out there. So today we are welcoming Puerto Rico with Carmen, who is looking to build with industrial hemp over there, and to introduce the first industrial hemp for building materials grow over there. And we're also chatting with Adelaida, and she is one of our directors. She's the director of outreach with Bill Green now and Voices for Progress. So she does amazing work, and she was the one who introduced us and the work that we do over in Puerto Rico, and she's now introducing it to her home in Connecticut. And so we're working with growers and builders and the growing the market over there. So that we're very excited about.
So let's try our next technical step, because people, we are still going to need to update great devices. Adelaida, are you able to hear us okay on the audio feed?
Yes, I am. Hello, Henry. Hello, Dr. Sally. How are we this morning?
Good. Awesome. So we're going to do one other check as we prepare this next part of the conversation. So the way the technology works, we have to bring the person on screen with this tech to see if it's going to work. So we did a pre-check with Carmen, and so now we're going to check to see if Carmen is able to come on mic and possibly come on camera. I know she has things that she needs to do today. So Carmen, if you can hear us okay, you're dialing in from Puerto Rico, and there are always kind of different questions. And she needs to start a road trip, so she's gonna talk to us a bit. So let us know if you can join. And Adelaide, if you could send her a message to say we're ready for her while we continue our conversation. So just so everyone knows, we are also, parents and grandparents, so we have families that we take care of, because that's how next generations become stronger. So as we build resources, we also have a responsibility to take care of families. So please forgive us if you children, you'll hear children's voices, you might hear pets, you might hear some road noise, et cetera, et cetera. One of the other people going to join us today briefly is actually on a road trip in Connecticut, going to meet with her tribe. And so you'll have a chance to hear from her briefly. Everyone is very busy. And then Freedom had indicated that he'd be able to join a bit later. He's scheduled to come on about 1 o'clock. So just allow a little flexibility for that also. So as soon as Carmen can jump in, just have her come on camera and start talking. But with that, let's continue the conversation with Adelaida, Sally, and myself. I think one of the things to think about is, what does it mean to build a market? Now, what some of you may be aware of is that we are part of the ICC 11 team. We reside here in Ulster County, and we were in New York, and we were honored to be part of the U.S. Hemp Building Association. I was the president and certification director at the time, and had the honor of working with executive director Jacob Waddell and an international team in order to get Hemp-Lime into ICC Residential Building Code. So ICC stands for International Code Council Residential Building Code. A reason we took that step first is because whenever you're going into a market, there are a lot of things that you have to take care of from a compliance standpoint. And we won't talk about the negative side, we'll stay on the positive side. The positive reason for doing that is when architects and builders are ready to build with a new material, certifications provides a foundation of certainty, so you have a better idea of what you're getting. So one of our suggestions for those of you who are out developing products and markets with material is to keep that in mind. And so Adelaida, I know in Puerto Rico, they have a different approach to building code. Would you like to comment on that from our trip there in, I guess it's about a year and a half ago in 2025, and share a comment?
Absolutely, yes. We in Puerto Rico, it just takes waves for us to get into formation, and regardless of the narrative that's going on right now with the water shortage in a couple of the towns, hemp right now, industrial hemp, will be a light for some of their woes, which is the hot climate during 365 days a year, believe it or not. When it rains, it gets a little cool in certain areas. So we have, at least the last time I checked with one of our specialists in Puerto Rico, we have about 30 to 50 microclimates in the island itself. So it's very important that we could get the industrial hemp growing. We get the universities talking. We get the agricultural and the architectural departments open for discussion again, so we could revive this discussion, because they sent us away with a homework assignment. And so we did our homework assignment, and now we're coming back to the University of Puerto Rico, both in the Rio Piedras sector and in the one in Mayagüez, which is our agricultural sector. And those two universities will pick up where we left off, because now we have a map, now we have equipment, and we also have the most powerful part of all of this is the seeds and the people behind it and the professors. So it would be a light in a very dim situation that they're going through right now. And those that are focused on the water and the water shortage, may they come up with a very good solution for all those towns. We got 76, 78 towns in Puerto Rico, plus 2 extra sub-islands, Vieques and Culebras. So it's really important to bring the industrial hemp right now, at least to reduce the heat wave, if that makes any sense. Because when you reduce the heat wave, then you reduce, I think, the need for more H2O, and we just have to get them hydrated as far as we could get them hydrated enough that the water shortage is not affecting their livelihood per se, if you understand what I'm saying. So it can be a how do you say it, a silver lining in what they're looking for right now, without them actually looking for what we have to offer.
Yeah, let's go a little deeper into this, because we have a few minutes, because looking at our agenda for today, part of the idea is that there are different community groups that are going to be interested in different parts of this call. So during this first hour, why don't you take us back to December of 2024 and talk about kind of what we went through there as part of like opening a market. Because the reason I want to go through it this way is because our intent is to help as many communities as possible. And then there's a certain methodology that is becoming a best practice. So maybe step us through what you experienced from your end as we visited Puerto Rico.
The reception was very open and welcoming. I loved that. And the dean from the Department of Architecture, she was there. She received as well. We have another director. His name is Victor, and he's from the other architectural and landscaping department of the school. So it's almost like another institute separate for the ones who graduated from there. But they were very receptive, very open to the idea. We just needed a map. We needed somewhere we could navigate, because honestly, while I was there, I experienced my culture for the very first time, at the same time doing the research and development and the study for the industrial hemp market in Puerto Rico. And what I saw was that some are very, very attached to traditional ways of things working. If it's not broken, don't try to improve it. Just leave it alone, because I know what I know. And Murphy's Law, if it's going to happen, it will. And so that is like the mentality, old school mentality over there, where it's like very culturally, don't mess with it. If it's not going to give me any problems, let's just let it work until it breaks down. But what this will bring for them is a new height of living and environmentally friendly doing things, because they've always been cement and concrete in Puerto Rico, like it's a concrete jungle within a jungle, if you know what I mean. And so the old school traditions, the concrete, the cement, on an island of 135 or 100 by 35, that will be a feat to be able to reckon with, because we could go town per town looking for those who are eco-conscious. Because I will tell you that we will have some opposition, even though this is the best of the best, and we're offering it like the Taínos offered it when they got visitors on the island. But it will take some believing and touching and seeing and feeling before the whole island becomes aware of what industrial hemp can really do for them.
Well said. Well said.
Well said.
Well, one of the differences in Puerto Rico that we need to just point out is that they don't have a building department. The individual architects take that responsibility. So it's an even heavier burden over there than in the mainland America. And so when we're talking about the architectural school and the university's architectural department, it's important to stress the burden that each of those students carries, because they're responsible for making sure that the materials that they use and the designs that they produce for their clients meet the regulations that they're under. It doesn't actually go through a separate department. The other thing that I think is worth pointing out is that it's a very tropical island with a lot of bugs, including bugs that really love to eat wood. So they are quite voracious, and so they have yet to meet the hemp and the lime, but we suspect, and we'd love to prove, that it's not going to taste good, and that it's a big plus. The other thing that we met quite serendipitously, I guess, is the fact that on tropical areas, they said we don't need insulation because it's hot already. Now, something to point out again that we look forward to proving through the proof of concept and the pilot projects that we have that we're working out with Carmen as well, is that this material will keep the occupants of the buildings cool. So we were.
Hi, everybody. I can't hear anybody, so I don't know if I'm interrupting. I can't hear anything.
Oh, no worries. So we're hearing
guys,
briefly from Carmen. Yep, we do hear the road noise. So if you could speak loudly just for a minute on the scene in Puerto Rico.
Your point of view of Puerto Rico, because obviously you're there.
Yeah, go for it, Carmen, if you want to share a few words. Just have to speak loud. Okay, so we're having some audio difficulty. We're learning the limits of the tech. So let us know how you want to proceed with it. We'll continue talking with Adelaida. I'll ask Sally to send you a brief text message so we can loop you in. You could just send her a message to let her know we could hear her, but the background noise was overwhelming. Oh, look at that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Go for it. If you'd like to share an update.
Please do. Oh.
Okay. Let's continue, Adelaida.
Mm-hmm.
So let's continue with what you're saying about the experience in the island, because one of the things we noticed when we got there is some of the homes that we looked at and the place that we were staying at, it didn't have glass in the window openings, which might surprise some people, which kind of indicates that the architectural design was such that there wasn't a need for windows, or maybe windows were at a price point that weren't affordable. But in any case, it wasn't part of the design.
The glass. There were windows.
Right, there were window openings,
yeah.
But there wasn't glass or sealed. What is some of your insight on that, Adelaida?
Well, one of the reasons I would come up with, and then I will research it from old school people who know the real truth. But for me, it would be the winds and the hurricanes and the weather out there. Oh. When you have glass, it'll shatter the glass and it'll break. But when you open those little slats, all of those little slats, you open them in a way where the wind is just going right through. So that way it doesn't break anything. We close the little slats when the wind dies down, but there's no broken windows at the end of one of those weather events that we have happened to see, which Maria was one of the most devastating in record time right now. And you see there was landslides, there was devastation, there was homes that were in places that emergency equipment could not reach. They could not get to them on time. And so they're in places that it's very unreachable. In my experience, when I went into the inner island part of it, which is the central mountain area where I'm born from in Cayey, all of those roads are not made roads. So some roads are federal and some roads are state. So some of the state roads are not made. They're not plowed out. They're not asphalt like the current highways that we have, or the freeways that we have, that it's open to the public. Inside those mountains, there's a lot of small, narrow roads where emergency trucks can't even reach the people that are there for water or medical or medicine. So it's really hard. But those windows in some other places now, with the new redevelopments, so those are old school construction development things, but now with all the modernizations that's happening and a lot of the Americanized ideas moving into the island, they are now building skyscrapers and very, very tall buildings in the metropolitan area alone of San Juan. As I was living there a few years ago, before I relocated to Connecticut, there's like 4 or 5 sky risers that were going up in mid-construction, and 2 were already finished from the time period of 2021 to 2025 that I was over there, or 2025 that I was over there. So it's becoming more and more, how do I say it, populated. And there's more housing to be done, but this is why I think we're in the right time, in the right season, with the right space. So thanks to Carmen and Mi Patria for being there and stepping up and saying, hey, here we are, so we could be partners or do what we can to be over there to educate, to train, to workshop, to expand the ideas that industrial hemp is good for Puerto Rico, and it will be good for the residents, for the commercial spaces, for the schools, for the churches. Like, just when I tell you that heat over there is no joke. It is no joke. And I personally know because I experienced it myself.
Yeah, so that takes us to this other point, which is kind of part of our methodology. So first, a quick admin note. This is our first broadcast, and we're kind of learning the limits of tech and equipment. And one of the things I can certainly say is that as I've talked with people in other countries, the internet connectivity is different. In people who are from a high-tech area like California, there's no way that they can really appreciate it because we're so used to high-speed internet, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot that's taken for granted. So I know, for example, one of the people is on the line is Ondogo from Uganda. And so at some point, we're going to figure out how and see if it's possible for him to connect. But I know some of the connections are low speed. So what you'll see us needing to do is get some tech equipment, get some phones and, microphones and cameras, and send those to team members in different working groups so that they can improve the quality of their broadcast. And that's kind of just the way it goes. So what you'll see me doing is fiddling just a bit with the technology and to see who is actually able to connect all the way through. So just kind of bear with us as we go through this. So as builders of New York's first Hemp-Lime retrofit, which we're in right now, those are the Hemp-Lime walls in the back behind us. We started this project in like 2019, and we've been living in the work that we completed, which has been absolutely amazing. So we've had opportunities to invite people to come, look, see, experience, sleep overnight, and walk away with an understanding of what it means to experience a hemp house. What are some of the things you remember, like when we had the students from Cornell and also from Syracuse, University of Syracuse, what they said as soon as they entered the house about their ability to feel like they could breathe freer?
Right. One of the sisters had accidentally broken her sister's nose, and as the sister with the broken nose was growing up, she had difficulty occasionally with breathing clearly. What she noticed after being in the hemp house a short time, she just suddenly stopped mid sentence and said, "Oh, hey guys, I can breathe." And then she told the story, and she said, "It's amazing. I am not congested and stuffed up. I really feel like I could breathe." Another little point is I went to my dentist for a regular cleaning and an X-ray, and they kept looking at the X-ray, and I was thinking, uh-oh, what's going on? And they said, "We've never seen anybody with such clean sinuses," and they were quite amazed. I'm over 70 years old, so they were looking at me going, "How come your sinuses are not all clogged up and they're just clean?" And so I didn't go into a long explanation, but I really think that we benefit from living in a house with such clean materials. Other people who've come over, we've had a number of people who were suffering from insomnia. And the first time they came, we were so concerned because they hadn't showed up in the morning by about 8, 9, then 10. So we actually knocked on the door, and they finally came to the door going, "Wow, I was sleeping so deeply. I've been asleep 12 hours. And this is from somebody who would maybe sleep 2 hours on and off for years." And so for them, it was miraculous.
Yeah, let me add a bit more to that. It's important, and we find high value in listening to these small comments.
Yes.
Because what those small comments do is they're like an indicator of a possibility in the beginning of a market opportunity. So a way we interpret that is people feel better sleeping in a Hemp-Lime retrofit. Now, as a scientist, what I seek to do is understand, well, what are the core elements that are making that possible? And so what we recognize is that to really communicate this to others and to provide the basis for grant funding, et cetera, data is of high value. And so by networking together with our team and others, what we're focused on doing is taking this first house that we finished, taking our experiences that we use to get it into building code, and then taking what we're learning by having people come and stay here and what we're personally experiencing, is we write that up into next steps. So let me add one of the things that we did that we haven't talked about just yet, is that we found that there was a need to, one, get the material in the building code. And so in order to do that, at the time when I was president of the Hemp Build Association, see, the challenge was that how do you communicate with the whole nation of people? Because the building code is prescriptive. And so basically what that means is that each building department in each state, county, and municipality slash city, they have a choice in terms of what they're going to allow in their code and what they exclude. And so that has to be respected because you have what's referred to as states' rights. And what's interesting is once you start looking at things that way, you see a whole different world. You have these ideas like your state, based on its constitution, has a contractual agreement with the federal government. And we're discovering the limits of that now because you see how some states are dealing with the federal government. Then within a state, you have each county has its own rights. And then they have a dual level because the counties then have to deal with their state and also with their Fed. So in the case of New York, what I want to say to my colleagues here is that we still have some work to do. So on the platform that we're about to show you, we think this is going to be one of the best ways that we can go forward. So we're going to test out some of these ideas and then, share them with others. So let's do the following. I'm going to bring online a picture of the platform so we can take a look at it and understand some of the capabilities and things that are possible. So just give me one moment as I prepare to share my screen.
Yeah, I know that we've been talking about hemp and the hemp market. This platform is perfect for that, but it's also purposely designed for small businesses, networking, for not-for-profits, for interest groups, and globally, to network globally, and to support people from local small businesses linking maybe to a similar small business in another country where you want to support one another or just stay local. You can do all of that on this platform.
Yes, so now of course when you go live, behavior changes slightly. So let's see if I can get this to share. Just give me one moment here. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share this one entire. Let me share now. Okay, so it has a strange behavior. Let me think for a minute as to why it would care. Now, just for kicks, I'm going to move it to a different screen and see what happens. Okay.
Close some screens.
No, I'm going to move StreamYard to the other screen and see what happens. So just bear with me a second. I'm just going to see if this works or if it crashes. Okay. So I think it's broadcasting okay now. That was fascinating. Okay. So I have to kind of think of what had just happened there. I'll diagnose this later, but there's some kind of switch that occurred that was different than we looked at it. See, this is a typical software bug, and people will not understand, have no clue what happened. My background's technical. I test software, design algorithms.
Thank goodness.
And it had switched the screens in the background. And so that's what gave us the mirror effect. Anyway, we're still live. We didn't break the stream. So what we're looking at on the screen is the landing page for the Voices for Progress platform. So let me just take you back one step. For those of you who are joining, you can send your friends to this link, Build Green Now, First Friday, if they want to join us here. This is one of the first websites that we put together, Build Green Now. And the idea is that we wanted to get content out there so people could start learning about the material. And then what it led to is we realized that as I turned it off from there.
Okay.
What we realized is that we had to get this material into county code. And so what that means is 3,144 different counties in the US. Now, some, if you get it in at the top level, you have an opportunity to, what are you looking at there? Oh, it's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
At some, you have the opportunity to get it in at the state level, which is a different experience than trying to go one county at a time. In other cases, you have to go one county at a time. So to do that, there's a need for sending content to every single county. And so, as the president of the Hemp Association at the time, we really didn't have resources to do that. There were regional leaders set up. A challenge with that approach is that they aren't paid for one, and the typical commitment in a volunteer organization is something on the order of 3 to 4 hours a week, which isn't close because what you have to do is try to manage it by email, which is overwhelming. That's a fact. So as a senior project manager, I looked at that and I said, well, we need to build a platform. It was very difficult to get support, so we decided to just figure it out on our own. And so we went forward with other teams who were willing and ready, because there are a number of teams we attempted to talk with, and it was always a bit, we'll stay positive. So if you go to the Voices for Progress site, that's the entry point for how we're building out access to working groups so that people can collaborate. Now, you might ask yourself, well, why do you need working groups? The reason we need that is because what happens is we would go to a conference, like we were speakers at the Fields of Opportunity event in Ulster County last December. And then as part of that, people like at our table during lunch, there were 10 people, 20 plus ideas, because people have things they want to do. They want a scutching method. Some people want long fiber. Some people want to focus on animal bedding. Others wanted to do erosion control mats. Some just wanted the herd, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole list of things that people said they wanted. And that's what we've heard at the multiple conferences that we've attended. Now, in order to do that, there's a need for people to communicate. So the strategy going forward is if we set up work groups, that makes it possible. So here's how we're going to go about it. Now on this platform, you just kind of browse through. We're going to connect these through to different types of projects. Now the platform is designed for anyone. It doesn't have to be industrial hemp. It's like whatever it is you're doing. And what we did on this page is we put a few examples. So the idea is you'd click through here and you'd learn about examples. And then what you have to do is log into the website. And it's tricky from a technical standpoint to transfer all the data, blah, blah, blah. So bear with us as we knit the pieces together and provide funding so we can do it better and more accurately. Mm-hmm. Now, what you'll see here is this is one of the projects we're going to build out in the next, during this month. This is a picture of us when we're at Code Council. That's the original ICC 11 team. This is the picture I would prefer that organization would share, because so many people put so much into this. It's nice to get some, well, let me leave it there. Mm-hmm. Now, let's go to the site itself. Now, this is the landing page of the site. And the idea is that each organization can have their own organization on the website. And what you do is you'd set your organization up. I won't go through all the details here, but you'd set your organization up. This is a live map. You also have work groups. So within your organization, you create work groups. So the recommended practice would be organizations for every state, right? Because you really have to focus on local. Organizations for every county, right? So maybe you start a guild. So that's a good approach because it's going to start the communication between people who are local. What that's going to do is it's going to create the opportunity for people to communicate locally and be a part of what's going on locally. Then you've got this idea of you set up the work group. And what happens with the work group itself is you have the opportunity to focus on a specific area. So here in Ulster County, what we're going to do is we're going to build out a work group for industrial hemp insulation. We've already started, and we have some projects we've done with basements, and we're getting really good data that we'll share with people. If you want to follow that, then what we'll ask you to do, give us about a week to put those view. You have the idea of organization. And then here, it takes you to a work group where you're actually getting work done. Inside work groups is where projects live. So you can see you have multiple work groups and multiple projects. And so then you start your project to focus on a very specific area. Now, I'll just take you to one of our sample projects. Now, inside of a sample project, the way it works is you're keeping track of a list of tasks, and you decide what is the order that you're going to do your tasks. Because what we know from project management is that anything that you want to do is going to take a lot of steps and it takes time. So this particular project plan has like 71 tasks in it. And what we're committed to doing is giving you the automated steps that are going to make it easier and easier. So what the team is working on right now is there's a notes subsystem. Do you want to say a word about notes and this AI approach?
With the notes, anything that you see that's a task, for example, your task could be order the materials from the local building supplier, and you may be tasked with buying a box, enough screws to set up the anchors for a spray applied job. Now, that's all well and good, but if you have volunteered to go and pick up screws, you know how many aisles, how many different types of screws there are on the screw aisle of a building supplier. So with the notes, you can actually put a video, you can put drop a picture in, so it will show the exact measurements, the length, the brand. You could even put which aisle to find them in, and that makes the task a breeze. And you say exactly how many you need. I need 300 3-inch wood screws, which makes it such a difference with this screw head. And so you know exactly what you're looking for.
So let's talk about what that ends up looking like. So the way that looks in real work is, I'll give an example from work that we did in New Jersey. We were part of the team that helped develop what's known as the Unity Walk. And it was basically a walk for peace. It was started by Jersey City Anti-Violence Coalition Movement Executive Director Pamela Johnson, and then a crew of people there doing some amazing work with other organizations like the Neighborhood Alliance with Sandra Lovely, Rashid Chambers, he's working technology with young people, Dwayne Baskerville, he's doing the basketball and dealing with shooters, and it would actually be a way of bringing about peace. So that way, by having events that gave a positive focus, we made some really good progress. But to pull that off, what was needed was basically what you call task at a time project management, because most people were so busy. What they could do is if you sent them something on their cell phone, they could read it and do that, but all this other stuff, forget it. So we found a way of doing that. So the platform, the way this works is each of these are small tasks, and then we had more details to the task. This is something we'll train on later, which is how do you take a task and break it into smaller pieces so it's small enough that it's like a checklist. Now, once you know what you want, then this would be like a project manager view. So for those of you who are executives, this would be your dashboard for all the work that you're doing. So you'd have all your different projects here. And now for this particular project, you would say, well, you know what, I've got a couple of priorities here that I need to get done. And now notice here that what you can do is you can assign it to someone. So let's say, for example, you come here and then you decide that you are going to edit this task. And I'm going to go in here and assign this to myself. So now I'm updated. So this is going to now like appear on my list of things to do. I'm going to change the status of it because I just want to kind of go through the process. And then, so I've got a couple of tasks that are assigned to myself. Then what you'll see is that the system will go through all of your projects, and in one place, it'll list all of your priorities. And then once you have your priorities, then what you have to do is on a daily basis, try to figure out, well, what is it you can get done? Because with project management, you're trying to figure out, well, what can I fit in the time that I have? And every day, time is a bit different. So the way we're going to propose to people, we can certainly give a view of the data from a typical project management Gantt chart approach. But what if we just kind of showed a day at a time if we're taking an agile approach, and you just have to figure out, well, what is you're going to work on when? Here's what that would look like. There's the concept of what we call a visualizer. And so in this case, we're integrating this into the design now. You'll be able to look at this coming week. Now, the way this will work is these things that are moving around represent things that you're going to try to do within the day. It's saying it's one of your top priorities. Now, sure, there's other stuff that you're working on, but you don't have to get to those yet. That's another day. We're looking at today. And so then let's say, for example, you want to get this big one done. Now, let me move the smaller ones out of the way. So the notion becomes, how do I organize my day so that I can get these things done? Now, suddenly, given the time I have left, I don't have time for this one today, and I may not have time for this one because it gets late into the evening. So by organizing, I could say immediately, I'm doing those tomorrow, and just stop thinking about it. So then the intent is every time you open your device, you would see the time, the things that you're wanting to do, and if you have any collisions in terms of time. You get two things going on here, so maybe spread them out a little bit. And then what happens is you want to get into, well, what is it I need to do? Because see, the thinking is that you pick up your phone, then you look at a visualizer screen, it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Then the next step would be, you want to go in here, this is the functionality we're adding next. You go in here and you may want to look at a checklist of things that you want done. So in this example, for example, we're taking it down to the level of, okay, you've got a thing you need to finish, so just do that. Put your phone away, do your other stuff, come back to it again. It's like, oh, let me do this one next. If you just keep operating at a thing each day that way, and if the project manager just gives you the details that you need, and if you have a question, you ask the question, and then the project manager would need to put the answer in a place where you can find it. The intent is that it would reduce the number of phone calls and the misunderstandings and the other things that happen. So then you can kind of work through this and get your work done. So this would be something we always show on the main page here through the organizer.
The task visualizer with the circles is just your tasks.
Right.
And that makes it so much easier to reduce down the noise. If you saw a list with all of the tasks for all of the people who are on the team, it's difficult to focus. But if you saw yours and made it into almost like a game, which is why we made it fun, so that you can then look at the tasks you have, the large one, that could represent 4 or 5 hours. The small one could be a couple of minutes. So look at what you need to get done that day, and look at the list of the steps to do, and that way you can focus on what you need to do. You're a piece of the machinery of the whole project, and you're an important piece. And so we want you to be able to focus on the pieces that you need to get done.
Now, with that, it looks like Adelaide is able to connect. So as we prepare to wrap up this segment, this is what I'm going to propose we do. We're just going to take a quick look at the marketplace, and then we're going to see if we can bring Adelaide on camera for some closing comments before we end this first hour and take about a 10-minute refresh break. So the last thing we'll show you here is your entry point. So Sally, if you could add a comment to this, these are going to become templates, and this is designed to help you get started and get organized. Please comment on the marketplace and what it's intended for.
Yeah, so the marketplace is somewhere that everybody can go. When they first arrive, they can check out the marketplace. So if you have a project that was successful, and it could be maybe building a tiny house, and you have put in your project all the different steps and the materials and the amounts and things like that. You could actually turn that into a template and put it up for sale in the marketplace. You put your price, the money goes directly to you. We may take a small amount to go into the public benefit, but if you look at what's available on the marketplace, you can either put into a category or start a category. What we have done is try to envisage a number of different categories that people can put templates for sale or for free. Say you have a way of bringing activists together and to get petitions signed. You want to give that away. You want to make sure that if it was super successful, you talk about it and you say, this is how we did it. Go ahead, copy it, and bring success to your communities. If, for example, as I was saying, you had a design for a tiny house, you would want to sell that and show the steps. So you can put your project up, and then somebody can purchase that and then put their details, dates, milestones, or whatever, if they want to change anything. But they have your map and your project step by step, milestone and task. So that's a way you can do it. If you have training material, that's the other thing. You can write it out as a project and put that up for sale. We'll help you with anything that you have questions with. What we're seeing right now are 2 startup projects that I put together to help people, get organized, clear your space, clear your focus, and get rid of your distractions so that you can then focus on getting a project started. To start a project, you've got the Universal Project Startup Checklist. There's 15 steps in there on what actually makes up a project.
Yes, what you'll also notice is that we have integrated AI within the platform. And so we're building out the capabilities of that tool. So down in this lower corner is an actual AI chat bot where you can chat about the project itself. And we've also did a first implementation of what we call project splitting or task splitting. And the reason for that is that some people, they might have a task that's like 3 hours long, and you really need to split it into like increments that are 45 minutes. And the intent is for us to each be able to build our own knowledge base, because the intent of the AI is that you accumulate the data the way you want to use it yourself and within your network. And then the projects that you build, what you'll see us doing is creating a public benefit contract model where we'll talk about that in another meeting, but let's do this. Let's return to the main stage and let's see if Adelaida is able to join us. And Adelaida, are you able to come off of mute and say hello?
Hello, my friends. How are we?
Perfect. Are you able to get closer to the mic by chance? Slightly more volume.
Yes,
We'll
can you
figure it out
hear me
later.
closer just a little bit more now?
That works. Yeah, that's a little better.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you. Technical
Yes.
difficulties, but you know what? We can navigate. How is everybody doing? I'm so glad to be here. We're almost at the end of our first hour. And I've been outreaching and sending the link while we've been live. I've checked all of
Thank
our
you.
platforms and we are flowing very well. Thank you very much. So this could be our very first successful First Friday.
So here's what I think we do to give everyone a small break. It's almost top of the hour. And yeah, so let's do this. We're going to take a break now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mute the mic, but we're going to leave the stream open. And we're going to plan to return at the top of the hour and continue the conversation. So with that said, I'm just going to post some content for folks to, look at and see. And we'll just, basically put the content on loop. And it's basically a timer. So we'll select, let's see, this one, saying that we'll be right back.
Absolutely. That
And we'll
sounds good
just
to
kind of
me.
keep that running on a loop for right now. And I'm going to pause the mic here and we'll
Okay.
connect over another channel just to get organized for the next hour. And then I'll
That
put up a
sounds good.
banner just so people know. So I'll go ahead and mute the mics and we'll be back at the top of the
We'll
hour.
see you back at 1 o'clock.
All righty. Maggie.
Hey.
Hi. Oh, I didn't even know you could hear me. Hey, we're in the green room together.
Yeah, the sound is horrible.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on my laptop. That's why.
And there's a weird echo.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you for telling us that.
Yeah,
we're gonna
so
try to get all
everything
these.
I say is getting repeated back to me.
Okay. All right. Let's see how we can get rid of that. But we'll be back in like 5 more minutes. So thank you for hanging on.
Great.
Understood. Understood. Okay, let's get ready to start. I'm going to turn this timer off and we're going to dive right in. So just give me 1 second. Let me do that. Hello, hello.
Now I can see you.
Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
I'm not getting the echo that we got right at the beginning. So that's great.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask you,
for your patience.
no worries. I wanted to ask you if we could bring on Derek Strong.
Oh, absolutely. So what's happening now, I'm going to add Freedom also and see if he's able to come on camera. So for those who are watching the stream, we're using a tool called StreamYard. And of course, every tool has its personality. And so we thought we'd have a soft launch with some friends and just start the conversation and figure out how the tool works. So just a few admin logistics as we start up. I think we got all the banners correctly so we can show the names of some of the individuals who are joining us. And Freedom, when you get a minute, if you could come off mute and just say hello, so then we'll know how to govern the call. And we're so honored that Maggie was able to join us here for just part of a hello conversation and to hear what people are talking about.
Hi, Maggie.
Hey.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
How everybody's doing?
We did it.
Yeah.
We're all here.
Yay.
Fantastic.
I'm just trying to send the link to Derek.
Okay.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you want him to come on camera or what's your preference?
Oh, I don't know. He might have stage fright like I do.
Okay.
No,
so
I doubt it. He's much more extroverted, if you can believe
so
that.
send the same link that you used to join the stream.
Whatever works, whatever people are comfortable with.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just sending him the link
Okay, so
that
let
they
me
use.
do this. Oh, perfect. There we are. So here's how we thought we would govern this next segment. Now I've got a couple banners I'll put up as you start talking, And the idea is that you can take this content and, dice it up and use it however you want to use it. And if you need help with that, we actually have some team members who can help with that. We can work up those details. So for those of you who are watching, this is the second half of our soft launch. And what we are developing is what we're calling First Friday. And the idea is that we just want to create a community space where we can all gather at the beginning of a month on a Friday. We'll figure out the best time and have a conversation about some of the things that are near and dear to us. Now, since we're closest to industrial hemp, we're focused on that, but keep in mind that there are people who are involved with a lot of things that are important, including activism. And so our common thread is that we think that there's a way that we as communities can build stronger platforms and integrate the technologies that we prefer so that we get more out of it based on what we prefer. Because otherwise the risk is of getting captured by corporations and being incredibly restricted in terms of what we can and cannot do. So with that said, let me just say a few words about who we have with us today as part of this conversation. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So let's do a reintroduction because this is the second hour. And I think what would be best is, why don't we go around? I have to move my camera out of the way, so forgive me if I'm ducking. Let's start with, we're going to kind of go around. We're going to go Adelaida, then we're going to Freedom, and then Maggie. Just say, 2 minutes about yourself and your passion, what you're focused on. Adelaida, if you could start us off.
Hello. Thank you, Henry and Sally. Thank you all for joining us. Freedom from Franklin, Connecticut. Woohoo! And Maggie, thank you so much for being here. I am Adelaida, the regional industry leader for the USHBA, and also I am a director of outreach and international networking for Build Green Now, one in Ulster County, New York. And I am just head over heels with hemp. If I could marry it, I would. To tell you more. It doesn't talk back, so that would be a nice marriage and bliss. But I like the education piece. I am also a retrofitter in training, project manager in training, and just getting the industrial hemp in my regions, which is New York State, Connecticut State, New Jersey State, Puerto Rico, of course, as I was born there, and the Virgin Islands. And we are almost covering all 5. So as long as we could cover all 5, that's my little piece of the world, contribution to the world with that. Thank you for allowing me to have this place to say so.
You're welcome.
Great to have you with us.
Yeah, it's great. And thank you for the introductions. If you'd like to say a word to introduce Freedom and how we met, because that was fortuitous. This past weekend.
Absolutely. So introducing Hector Freedom Guerrero. He is our first of its kind.
Na Guerrero, Gerardo.
Perdóname, Gerardo. He is the first of his kind here in the state of Connecticut to be growing the industrial hemp, which I'm very, very proud of. We started this year, 2026, but this is a story in the making for about 5 or 6 years. You've been in the business, Hector?
Yeah, take it away, Freedom.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself and what you're up to. And we might need to check mic quality. I heard a little bit of echo in case there's another device that's also on.
No, it's just my device. How does it sound?
That's better.
Okay, so my name is Freedom Gerardo. Like Adelina said, I wear many different hats. I'm not just a farmer. I've been farming for the past 6 years. But my original background is that I have 20 years in union organizing and community organizing. So I come from the social justice movement that started when I was 18. I come from a union family. They work with janitors, work with many people in the service industry. And that's where I come from. That's why I was built. So I'm glad that you mentioned that it's not just agriculture and hemp. There's social justice involved in this because of what's happening in the world right now. If we're not talking about that, I'm wearing my press shirt. A lot of people think that it's about the press, but it's not about press. It's about the 250 and something journalists that the war on Gaza has created. So I'm always talking about how can we use hemp to rebuild Gaza and work with the Palestinians to rebuild stronger homes now that all their houses have been demolished by this sick regime. But I don't want to. I digress. I'm gonna move into what I do. So I run many different organizations. You see One Freedom for All on there. So that's my youth organization that now got a big grant to work on hemp and recruit new farmers to build to grow hemp. It's going to be a circular economy. So we're going to have the farmers growing the hemp as a cooperative. Then we're going to have the processing because we have another monies that's coming in to buy the processing equipment, because that's like the hardest thing when it comes to hemp is finding the processing. So we're gonna have the processing equipment in a 10,000 square feet facility. That's how we're gonna start off. From there, we're gonna build tiny homes, retrofit homes in the Bronx, working in Puerto Rico with Mi Patria, retrofitting houses over there. Shout out to Carmen that I saw her on the call earlier today. So like we work in many different things, and we also sell vegetables. So we got a 3-acre plot that we grow vegetables that we sell in a CSA, and we do many different things in the movement. So I'm glad to be here, and thank you for having me. There's more that I do, but there will be more time. There will be more time.
Thank you for sharing. So
Great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So what we're going to do next is go to Maggie, and then Maggie can introduce Derek for some words. So Maggie, if you want to take it away, maybe say a word about how we met, and maybe just make a statement regarding our intentions. No commitments, just kind of ideas we're heading toward.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this. I'm going to pat myself on the back that I'm trying this new platform. Gotta say, my palms are sweating a little bit. I'm not used to starting a new relationship live like this, live streamed. So the pressure's on. I also want to say that the Alliance for the Mystic River Watershed would not exist if it weren't for Derek. Derek and I met in a class that we were essentially co-teaching about environmental justice and educational justice. And we began to think about rivers and how they connect us, and then how colonialism has turned the narrative of separation into a narrative of lack of care of rivers and attention to rivers as one of our most important relatives and ancestors. So the Alliance for the Mystic River Watershed is an opportunity for us to take care of our waterways together. 4 towns and 2 tribal nations. With next year will be the 400th anniversary of the Mystic Massacre. Oppressions that grew out of that. We are ground zero for attempted genocide, for enslavement based on ethnicity, for the first reservations whose sole purpose is to divide people from land and water to which they belong, and then by which destroy their culture. So what we're doing is looking at all of the different ways that we relate to water and trying to nurture all of those as we learn about each other and support our relationships. And then to, in that context of when we care about something together, that helps us to build trust, even in a place that has such pain that we are, all learning how to carry together. We're only 3 years old, and we're in the process of creating a watershed and really region-wide, potentially bioregion-wide way of thinking about how we can come together to take care of these ancestral waterways. And so Mystic River Watershed Regeneration Action Plan is in the works. And of course, environmental justice and tribal resurgence is a big element of it. So we're very interested in the possibilities for cleaning, keeping our watersheds clean and healthy, and all of the communities of life that rely on water healthy and thriving. And we have seen the potential, just gotten glimpses of the potential for industrial hemp, and thanks to Freedom. So that's how we all met, because it has been a privilege to get to know Freedom over the last couple of years. We've shown up at various conferences together and sort of gotten into each other's orbit, and they're only 25 minutes up the road from where I live. So we are establishing that relationship. Freedom, I was just saying how great it's been getting to know you bit by bit over the years, and how fortunate we are as we think about regenerative resurgence and environmental justice here in southeastern Connecticut, with all the pain that southeastern Connecticut holds, but also all the promise. And so, our vision, the Alliance's vision, is to have a circular system here where we are contributing to the Mother Earth's capacity to maintain her generosity by planting and harvesting and processing and designing and building and retrofitting and living in healthy homes that reconnect us and that help to heal. So I'll shut up there. That was a long introduction, so I apologize for that. But
it was all good. It was all good. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Yeah, well done.
And,
Well done.
and Derek, I'll pass it to you.
Derek, please proceed. Let's see. Let's take Derek off.
Can you figure out how to unmute?
Yeah, so look in the UI and see if you can hit that unmute button and see if that works for you. So as he's working through the unmute, we'll switch to him as soon as he comes. He might have to rejoin. So let's consider this next part of our conversation, because our part of our challenge is going forward within each state. It looks like he's managed to come off mute. So Derek,
can you hear us, Derek?
Share a few words?
Yeah, thank you for that. You got muted out towards the end, but that was very well put together. Thank you all for hosting this. Thank you all for the invite. Great work. I've been able to meet some of you along the journey. I'm an Eastern Pequot tribal citizen, and also a descendant of Swaliga, which is modern day St. Martin in the West Indies. So a lot of the work you all are doing, I salute it heavily, especially the social justice aspect of it. Bringing people together is definitely one of my knacks. As Maggie said, we kind of co-taught some college students that weren't ready for it. But what's more important is several sessions after that, we went and met with some Coast Guard cadets. So the emphasis on the river was a little more important, and we started talking a little more environmentally sound with justice involved in it, and actually the memories from the river. So being an Eastern Pequot tribal citizen, enjoying what Freedom does, and definitely want to join the journey. I've been a part of my tribal nation revitalization with reclaiming the language, dancing, a lot of elders, a lot of people my age, a lot of the youth. But I think now the applicable way to do it is hands-on. I've done it through archaeology. We've done it through gardening, but now it's time to really mix the two. And we have a great responsibility in the Northeast corner to remember that Connecticut is just a part of the Cape Cod, the Long Island, and the New York kind of triangle, if we could, or diamond. And the Great Pond, which I've learned, which is Long Island Sound, has a great way of teaching us many stories. So that kind of connects us all. And I think throughout the stories that we all share, we can kind of reflect on the past, but know that the future is not up to us. It's up to the young educators like Freedom bringing his kids every time is a beautiful thing. So every time we link up, it's a chance to kind of exchange with the youth and see that more youth around me need to be involved, even if they're not ready right away, right? We meet them halfway, tell them to bring their phones, but give me a half hour so we can talk. We got to meet them halfway. But yes, thank you again. There's more to be said, like Freedom said before, but I look forward to just taking it all in like a sponge. Great work, everyone.
Sure. So here's how we think we'll go forward with the time we have left, which is about 20 or so minutes. The idea is that we just see each other, sometimes for a first time, sometimes as a follow-up, and we get to know each other and we follow what the Spirit says in terms of what seems appropriate. Then from our standpoint, when we think of terms like AI, right, I translate that as ancestral intelligence, right? So in other words, it's something unique about the, sometimes in communities referred to as OGs, old gangsters is a term that kind of floats around. And what's amazing is that when we have an opportunity to gather together, a group of people of different ages, and we go through a process of what we call preference discovery. It's part of listening, listening to hear, and then discovering what are the things that we can agree to. We can make some very awesome decisions, because what we've learned is, over the years, I'm that person who, when my family was young, I have a son and a daughter, and I have grandchildren now. I was that person young in life, when my family was young, who would join a church because it was a good social scene. I know there are a lot of lies in there also, so I've had to kind of do a reinterpretation. I won't go there too far there, but just know that I know that there's spirit, but I know that I've been lied to at the same time. But I also know that when it's time to do the church picnic, I raise my hand, right? Because what would happen is somebody's got to go through all the logistics so it turns out right and the food is cooked and ready on time. So that's kind of one of my lanes. And so what you'll see as we get to know each other, one of our recent activities before this work with Bill Green now was actually in New Jersey. So senior project management with Jersey City Anti-Violence Coalition movement, shots fired, and that kind of situation. So the idea was, how do you bring peace to the community? So Pam Johnson came up with the idea of Unity Walk. I was behind the scene project manager where we grew the walk to like 1,000 people, right? So I know how to do all the logistics, and I listen. It's like, you know what, that system's not working. I'm gonna shoot people text messages and we're gonna get it done. So what we have right now is a system that is gonna give us superpowers. I'll put it that way. So we'll talk about that in a minute, but the idea is first, we get to know each other. And then we identify what are the best pathways forward. We're not gonna solve anything right now. We're just gonna say hello today. And then the goal after today is that we figure out who do we need to communicate with. Now, let me jump off there, then I'm going to take it to Freedom to talk about the opportunity he has, because I know people want to know about that, because it's money. So what I've learned as I've gone to conferences, and we'll go around here from everyone, is sitting at a table, people have these ideas of what they want to do with whatever it is. Now, our lane is hemp right now. We've got friends who are activists, we have friends who are into the law, we got friends who are into all over the map. So let's just take one lane for a moment for the purpose of explaining. 10 people, 20 plus ideas, emails, cards, meetings over, communication, babble takes over, disconnect. Next meeting, same thing again, it repeats. And so what I found is that, what if we took a different approach? So the approach we're looking to take is, well, the next conference we go to after today, because we now have the platform ready to show people, it's easy enough. People say instead of, just like you were saying, Mag, it's learning something new relationship. That's part of what we have to go through with our brains, where in tech world, sometimes you actually go through training to get your mind ready for something new, because we have to remember the things that we hold sacred, hold on to them, but then we make space for the possibility that there's a new way of doing a thing. So that's kind of what this is about. So the new way that we're proposing is that, what if at a conference, as people are talking, we could say, join my work group that's focused on processing. See, I just said processing. I didn't say, let's get in a room and talk about industrial hemp and the 1,000 things that could be done, because that conversation is going to split up. So instead, if we resist that and we say, okay, I'm going to form a few working groups. One of them is going to focus specifically on hemp-lime insulation retrofit for basements. We're getting that specific. We actually have started that already in New York. So Freedom, tell us about the opportunity you have, and we'll help you put together whatever you need. We can talk later. But you have a tremendous opportunity that people want to know about in Connecticut to learn. Let me pause there.
Freedom, I don't want to cut you off, but Sally didn't get to
Maggie, I don't know if you speak.
Oh, great. She made a good point. She made a good point.
Well,
Sally,
I didn't hear Maggie.
Sally,
I didn't
please
hear.
introduce yourself.
Oh,
Point of order. Thank you.
sorry. My name's Sally Warren. I'm Henry's wife. I'm also a trained natural health doctor, and my background is naturopathic psychology. So I come from the energetic forces of what heals us. Rather than what ails us, I'm looking at the root causes. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I look at hemp as being such a healing plant because it allows us to connect with our roots and our nature. And we're privileged enough to live in a hemp house, and I want more people to learn about this. So thank you.
And I can't wait until Waterfest when you can share with people what that's like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Remember to say a word about that later, please.
Yeah.
Freedom, please continue. Thank you for your patience.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I didn't hear Maggie. I didn't hear a word she said. I don't know.
I heard her. Did you hear Maggie, Adelaida?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't hear anything she said.
Freedom, did you hear anybody?
See, I can still, I don't know. I can't hear.
Did you hear me or us?
I can hear you.
Okay.
But I cannot hear her. That's weird. Okay.
Yeah, it's technology. We'll figure it out later, but I don't want to troubleshoot their stuff until they pay us.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna talk about it in a vague way because we just got the opportunity. We haven't set up the plan yet of how this is gonna work out. The opportunity is there, but it's to I will talk about it in a vague until we launch it because we haven't launched yet. Like we haven't done it yet. We haven't put this out yet. But we have an opportunity to develop the market. We have some money to develop the market for hemp in the Northeast, specifically for farmers in Connecticut. But the point of this grant is to develop the market for hemp in the Northeast. So it's money that is available for farmers to get paid, and for us to be able to create a space for them to process their products, their biomass after they harvest the hemp. Because, like I said before, right now there's no place to do it. So we're gonna create a cooperative of farmers. We're gonna start with Connecticut farmers, but we want to bring this to the Northeast. This model where farmers grow it, they don't have to pay for the seeds, they don't have to pay for anything but growing it, harvesting, and then they can sell their products to us, and they can every year can have a market where, okay, I know that I'm gonna grow 5 acres, 10 acres, and I know that I got this 10 acres paid every year, because that's a lot of the big farmers. That's what they scare. Is that if I put this many acres into hemp and I don't have any place to sell it, how I'm gonna make money? And it becomes the chicken of the eggs. Like I can't grow it, because there's no market and there's no processing. And then the processors and the people that got the money for the processing is saying we don't want to process or spend the money in the equipment because the farmers are not growing it. And then there's no market for it. So how can we work all three together in tandem? That is not one or the other. So that's what we're building right now with this grant, major grant that we brought to Connecticut and the Northeast to grow hemp and push hemp forward. So we can build sustainable houses. You know, Connecticut right now, they push into 2050. They want to go net zero as a state, like as low as they can. And we think that hemp is the way to go. That's the best place to start. And then you can involve other materials into it. But, you know, the market is a multi-billion-dollar market by 2030. That's what they said. We got 4 more years to see if it's true. So let's make it happen. But we're gonna put out the call for people to join this program at the end of August. So look out for that. Maybe for the next call, we will have something already prepared. Maybe a slideshow with what we're looking for and the help that we're looking for.
Good. Okay, I'm just suggesting a little lighting because that's just one of the things we're all gonna get better at is the lighting and all the rest of that. So just bear with us. We'll get fancier lighting as we go forward. Any response you'd like to share, Sally?
No, that was very informative. Thank you. It's so exciting having been in the hemp market for some time. When we were ready to retrofit this house, we ordered our hemp from France because there was not enough grown in the United States at that point. I was talking to Canada, but shipping it over was difficult. For some reason, it was easier to ship it from France. And so to hear that there is a plan to grow it locally is exciting. But what's super exciting is that it's going to be processed locally and that we're able to be a part of growing the market so that it's used locally. And that is nature's way. We really need to connect to our locality and to stop all this wasteful burning of fossil fuels. When we can grow it in our backyard, we can process it in our backyard, and then we can live in it, is the dream. So thank you for mapping that out.
Yes.
No, and I would say that we want a more sustainable planet, right? So if you want to build a more sustainable planet, right now we're not looking for those answers. Like a lot of people that have the money are not really looking. Like we're building data centers everywhere, you know, depleting the water source that we have, the clean water source. So how can we move away from all those different things and move in the way that is built for nature? So like it comes from nature, going back to Mother Earth. How can we get the indigenous folks knowledge, because they have the knowledge on this, to bring those things back that they already using. You know, the NRCS was built in the back of indigenous practice, but they call it the NRCS. But I digress. And if you don't know, it's the National Conservation Resource Services. That's like a USDA office, and you know, I have my feelings.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. So let's do a slight pivot as we head to the remaining 20 so minutes of this particular opportunity, and let's think about a couple of takeaways, if you will. Some of the conversation, as I was listening, is kind of talking through the harms that different communities have experienced. Then at the same time, the knowledge of the need for a different way forward. So in terms of a different way forward, what we see is we want to take a best practice approach, because the opportunity of doing it that way is we can leverage from the learnings of others. And so to prepare for that, what we've been doing since 2019 is networking, talking with people. But what's interesting is we haven't gone out to public stages per se until like the last year or so, where we've been invited to a few places. And the main reason why is because we kept finding a pattern where people wanted to know what to do. In fact, we built what we think is the first Hemp-Lime retrofit in the United States, right? But we didn't go through a process of having people walk through and pat us on the back, because the question was why? How's it going to help the people, the communities? In fact, the way this whole thing started is that I remember we were talking with Pam Johnson. It's like, you know what? We need to get into construction. We need to learn how to build things. We all agreed. So we walked around and looked at properties and said, you know what? Let's figure out how to do this. So we found our way to upstate New York. And then Sally was the one who said, how are we going to insulate it? And I said, yeah, you're right. Well, blah, 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 this and that. And it's like spray foam. It's like, wait a second. And then she told me about hemp. And I couldn't believe that you could insulate with a plant. So I'm thinking, as a scientist, how is that possible? What's going to stop it from decomposing, right? So I got all into it. And I found myself as president of the U.S. Hemp Building Association and building New York's first Hemp-Lime retrofit and learning how to do it ourselves. So the way we did best practice is Sally got on the internet and she did a search to figure out who do we talk to. So first you find the best in your region that you can get to. At the time, it was Cameron McIntosh. So he was just getting started. He was a gardener at the time. He was getting started with this. We got to know him and invited him to Ulster County, put him up. He came through and helped us do a class for the community. So the class for the community, the way that worked is we basically were over at Seat Song Farm and we hosted people come and see how it's done. We prepared the walls at the house and we brought them here and gave them an opportunity to actually get hands-on material and do the installation. Now, fast forward, he went down a path heading towards spray applied. So he's now the national leader for spray applied hemp-lime, right? Through building code or USHB, U.S. Hemp Building Association, we're able to get it into the International Code Council Residential Building Code. So we have the material itself. So we have some steps we're going to need to do for each of our states and counties. So one of the things we'll do is we'll put together a plan for getting it into building code. Now, let me just pause there for a second to show you how we take the words that we're saying, capture them, and then move them forward. So let's take a look. I'm going to just show a screen here for a minute. We'll see how many faces still remain on the screen. Okay, so what I'm showing here is, first of all, for people who have made it this far, we want to invite you to visit the site, and we have a giveaway for folks that kind of talks about some of these challenges that we're facing. So I'm going to drop this, and then at some level, we'll need to put it out there so people can find it. And the idea is to start a conversation around what does it mean in order to work with a community. So there's the notion of the story of what people have been through. So it's kind of an interesting story. We want to invite other people to edit versions of this, and we'll publish them. We'll figure out how to get the message across to people. Now, for us, what it also meant is we decided there was a need to build a platform so that there's a place where people could go and look. And there was a need to build tools, and they have to be simple enough. So the way this particular tool works, we think it's a success ecosystem. So the notion of it is that all of us can send people to a site like this, right? We can decide ownership and all that. It's purely a question, but we had to get started with it, so we really need some help. But we came up with the concept of, featured categories. Like, you got ideas like activism. So the notion is, who wants to be first in this category? And then what we do is we start off with the picture here and some of the basic words. People have different ideas for what they want to focus on. Like, we have a friend who's probably the #1 person for zero waste, but what we're going to need to do is put his project here and make it visible. So our job would be as like project managers. And so the notion is you'd click here, and then a person would log into the actual operational platform, which has all the details in it. So this is where the projects show up. So what Sally's working on right now, if you want to maybe say a word of how a person gets started with a new concept.
Well, the concept is a very basic project management. there's, you know, it's a 4-year degree if you go in and actually become a project manager. So I wanted to simplify it. So I've done 2 projects that people can look at for free. One is Get Organized. That's the simple thing that we all need. I certainly do. And so I was able to write down steps on just how to organize yourself, ready to prepare to go in to start a project. The way that I think about these things is, if I'm going to bake bread, I need to not only make sure that I have the material to put together to form the bread dough, but also that I'm not going to be interrupted. I have my surface prepared. I have my pans or bowls ready as well. So that's the way to think about simplification of a project. And so then after that, we go into the universal checklist for starting your project. Anybody who has not really thought through what it is, what a project is made up of, this takes you through 15 simple steps. You can go into each of the tasks and then see more detailed notes. For example, not everybody knows what a stakeholder is and how to identify it. Not everybody knows what assessing risks and mitigation might be. And this is actually a long way to say something fairly simple. If you're aware of common mistakes, or if you're aware of potential risks, rather than go with a wing and a prayer, prepare first that you have alternatives. If your contractor gets sick and you're relying on them, have somebody else that you could lean on in that case. But that's simplifying it. You're very welcome to look through the list and enjoy that.
Yeah, so I'll just give a quick overview of how we think it's going to help. So if you think of the organizations that are out there, if we were to just take a helicopter view, so we want this to be very kind of interactive for people and experiential. And so what we've built into this is actually a live map, right? So we can show any place on Earth is the idea. And then the notion of it is that each of us have a geolocation that our work is connected to. So when we talk about working in Connecticut and Long Island and some of those areas, the notion would be that, well, let's start off with an organization. So what you'd do is you'd put your organization in, you'd create it, and we'll help you with that and show you how. Now, once you create an organization, then what happens is inside that organization, you can have your various work groups. So we're just setting this up now. So we're going to create examples so that you can see. So here, what you'll see us add, like for Ulster County, we're going to focus on work groups for Hemp-Lime insulation, for retrofitting. Then, of course, for the state level, what we're going to focus on is processing. And I'll tell you a bit more about what's going on in Cornell in a minute. Then you have this other level where there are work groups. So each organization can have any number of work groups. So it gives us a way to organize our work. So if there's a group of people who want to focus on decortication, and another group that wants to focus on farming, and another one who wants to focus on like land preparation, you can imagine the different categories. So the way we do that is we have a conversation and say, well, what do you think about this? You get other experts involved. Well, what do you think about that? Well, let's chop it up. And then we'll use best practice tools to figure out what would be A+ work, to figure out the best set of steps. Now, once we do that, then we organize our groups. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. See, once you go inside of the group, I'll go and clean this up later so it'd be linear. What you end up with are the projects. So here is the idea of one of your work group. This is still test data, but you have a work group category that you've gone into, like decortication. And within that, you might have specific projects. Like one of the projects might be the electrical system. That electrical system project alone could have like 40 steps to it. And so then the way that would work is that would fit into what you call a project. So a project is a classical way of organizing things and keeping track. So if you've got sponsors and they want to know what's going on, like in this particular list, the project has like 71 steps and it has multiple milestones. So each milestone has a set of steps that you go through. This happens to be the next step that's due. And this has all the details is buried in there, like the notes, who you talk with, what you do. Then the goal is to make it easy for us to track because we lose track of things. So what we do here is you can turn off and on what a top priority is. This would be what your project manager would do for the team. So the project manager would say, you know what, we got to finish this stuff in time for the festival. So I need you to finish these 3 things. So what would happen is the person on their own home dashboard would see for all of the projects, for all of the working groups, for a person, you'd see everything on one screen. But the goal would be only show the top priority from each project and don't get everything mixed together. So that way, the idea is you look at your phone and you say, well, what's next? It would show up as what's next. And in fact, the way we're doing it is there's this concept that we've developed called a visualizer. And so the notion is that this would be your tasks. Like when this first started, I'll do a refresh to show you where the design is headed. So those might be your priorities, right? And if it's floating, it means you haven't thought about when you're doing it. It's like a to-do. And so you might look at it and you say, well, the size is supposed to represent the amount of work. So if you know you don't have a lot of time, you might just reassign it to somebody else, like right here. If you can do it, you say, well, let me figure it out. Let me take something easy first so I get my day started. So I say, I'm going to start with this one. And then I know I got to get something big done. So that's overlap. So then I'd say something like, I'm going to start that one about right there. This one, nope. This one, nope. This one, maybe. But that's kind of late, so maybe not. And so that would be the way you'd organize. Each person would have a view like this, so you could figure out what's getting done. And in fact, for project manager, we can give you a view of all kind of stuff. It's just one way of looking at work. This is just spread out over time. You can, zoom in, zoom out, all the rest of that. But the idea is, what do you want to get done today, and take it through its paces. So what we're adding this month is this idea that if you've got a task that you're working on, sometimes you need more details. So that's where you work with the reviewer, for example, and we create a checklist. And so the idea is the project managers over time are going to get better and better at creating the project-related checklist, so you can tell a person specifically what needs to get done and then track it until it's finished. So that's kind of the basic idea of how you'd approach like a project management approach.
And each individual on the team, this is one team member's list of tasks to do. So whoever else is on that team, if you've got 5 people, they'll each have their own tasks individually. One of the things that we heard from different people that we've interviewed who use existing project management online tools is that they don't even bother with looking at their task list, because it's all intertwined and buried in with everybody else's tasks, because the project manager sees the whole list of tasks. The individuals just want to see what they need to get done. Yes.
And I can tell you why I know it works is because I tried this approach with the project in Jersey. Because what actually was happening is when I first joined the team, I said, we need to split it into teams. We can't be meeting like this. It's not efficient. Because what I saw is that people couldn't attend all the meetings, but they're ready to do some work. But you had to break it down and then say, if you broke it down enough, you could like send it to them as a text message, or the way we're doing it is these tasks will go to their mobile phone. So you send your team a task. So every morning your operation would switch to, what do I need to do? Let me load a few more things. I've got 12 things. I got a team with this many people. Let me send 3 to this person, 2 to that person. Then I'll keep track of it through the day. Then when the day is all done, we'll create a way for you to summarize. So we think that's going to be an efficient way going forward, so that we can, let's back up again to see how we got here. We talk with people, they have something they want to do, we categorize it into a work group and a project, and then we organize it so it fits in with a person's calendar and what they can actually do. So let me pause there as we prepare to wrap up, and just kind of get some thoughts on what we may want to target as a next step between now and we're going to have another First Friday next month, and we'll decide what should be on that list. But between now and then, what we'll do is we'll reach out to each of you, and we're going to figure out, well, what is it that we want to commit to doing, and then how can we help each other? So let's go around one time, and we'll finish up with that later. So Freedom, if you'd like to get us started off, what would you like to see next?
Just building agro communities that are built around nature, Mother Earth, and the people, and not corporations. So moving forward and how to get that done, to me, is the vision, and that's what I would like to see, and more connection and more people that are doing different things, because to develop a market for hemp, you need many different people, many different entities to be part of it. So, yeah.
Yes. Maggie, would you like to share a closing comment of what you'd like to see next?
Excuse me. Yes, I would love to see us planning to get together with some of the tribal. You can't hear, Freedom?
We can hear you okay. There's some tech issues always going on.
Okay, well, I'd love to see us getting together with our tribal partners, those who are interested. Some have expressed interest already, and that could happen the day before Waterfest. So that could happen. Maybe we break bread together on the 18th, and then Waterfest is on the 19th. And if you're willing, there's a space there in the afternoon specifically for a community learning conversation. And I would love it if it was about industrial hemp and living with hemp and what's it like to live in a hemp house, and just get people more comfortable talking about it. Because there will be all kinds of people there, and including builders and designers and tech ed teachers. And so we hope that will be a really, really great day for Eastern Connecticut. And hoping, I don't know if Freedom can hear me, but I'm hoping that he can come too. And I would also really, my vision for the Breaking Bread Together is literally just that. One of the complaints that our tribal friends often make is that the people who look like me typically want to jump right into the tasks, and so I'm here to kind of say, let's just get to know each other, and have some fun together, and deepen those relationships, and eat together, and come to each other's places. And it was such a privilege to be on Freedom's farm. And so I think that you're coming. Yeah, I something happened. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's technology. It's technology did something. Keep going.
Yeah, your coming to Waterfest would be a great example of us, and then we would need to come and see you. And, so anyway, that's my thought. Derek, I'm sure has
response. Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
Katapatush Kuiki-san. That's just thank you. And you are in the light. I feel we all have a lot to bring to the table, but the way you've broken it down and the way you've kind of organized it makes me feel, I guess, honored to be a part of this circle in such a short-term notice. But I just think the future of the hemp, bringing forth the knowledge of people being reinstated into the community. There's a lot of different ways we can offer jobs to those that don't even understand the power of the plant. Mm-hmm. But my hopes and prayers are for reciprocal relationships always. So I just think more content creation around the great works that everyone's doing, even from the processing standpoint, getting some good GoPro cameras, different angles, and really taking it in so that that young farmer is that much more invited and feels welcomed.
Yes.
But this is awesome.
Thank
Good
you.
topic, Tish.
Thank you.
Adelaida, would you like to share a brief response and we'll wrap up?
That was for you, Derek.
Thank you,
Hello,
Derek.
hello. Yes, thank you so much. Can you hear me? Can
Yes.
you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Freedom, for your vision and putting it into action. I'm excited.
She might have to log off and log back in. I can't hear her.
He can't hear me. Okay.
Yeah,
So
we can hear you. So I'm going to do some research after this call.
right, we're gonna fix this. Yeah, we're gonna fix it. But we've got
it's
like
not our
about
plug,
a
it's
few
theirs.
minutes left. So and it's recorded, so we could probably listen to the recording to hear ourselves again. But with that being said, I'm glad that we're making these networking connections to the right places and the right spaces with all the pretty faces, really, because back then, 6 years ago, I was a deer in headlights talking to people about hemp and industrial hemp, and they had no idea what the hell I was saying. So I'm so glad that I stuck to it, that I found my tribe, I found my village to come and thrive in. And now we can really do some real work moving forward with all of the connections that we're making. So I want to thank everybody for being
before we
here.
finish up, we're almost out. Sorry to interrupt, but could you say just one more word about our opportunity to work with Puerto Rico? Because they want to work with us and they're opening the doors.
Yeah, that's
we want to think 2 climate zones, right?
Definitely. So we're in our data of collection, because we're collecting data every day as we move with these projects. Puerto Rico, in Isabela, Puerto Rico, specifically, we will be joining forces there with Carmen, Mi Patria, a non-profit organization there who actually do find homes for veterans. They remake homes and make places, they call places who are abandoned, and they fix them up and they call them home for veterans. So as we're teaming up with Freedom the Farmer here in Franklin, Connecticut, and with Puerto Rico, we will be soon putting up our very first workshop for industrial hemp, and we've already broke bread in 2024, so we're just giving them a map to follow. And I just can't wait. I can't wait till we triangulate all of our states and the Caribbean in industrial hemp.
Yay. Yes.
Sally, would you like to share a comment?
Well, it's just been awesome. Thank you so much. I know for some people it's been short notice and brand new friendships. But this is how we are. We embrace people who are interested in the journey and want to actually do the work. And we plan to grow our network with more and more supportive people and to meet everybody where they are.
Yeah, thank you for that. We're right on time. We got like 3 minutes left. I guess in closing comments, again, thank you for everyone for joining. With what we see on the horizon, we'll put together a schedule. We'll figure out a place to post it. We'll get each other's websites so we can do cross links on our websites and find content. We want to give stage to some of the events that are coming up. We'll send a notification to you once we get our ideas sorted this weekend. But there is an opportunity at Cornell to attend Field Day. And that could be something that we use as a gathering point. The reason and the strategy there is we'll look for a way to connect UConn with Cornell, with Puerto Rico, and get the professors talking, because each talk at their different levels about different things. Because what we managed to do is we made it all the way to Mayaguez in Puerto Rico, and then we're connecting the professor, the ag professor in Mayaguez, with Dr. Smart at Cornell. And then we've talked to the design department, architecture over in Puerto Rico, San Juan. And then in addition to that, we talked with professors here locally, like Professor Arta. We're developing a relationship, and we're working with students. So there's a lot of things going on, and we'll document each of those and share them. But with that, I'm just going to take a deep breath and pause for a moment to be thankful.
Yes, we're all very, very thankful. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, so enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll pause it here and we'll connect offline.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Blessings, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hector, Freedom. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Derek. It was great meeting you.
Derek. Thank you, Freedom.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you.